welcome back. Another episode of A-Town Rundown. I'm Joey, joined always by the guitar hero himself, Jeremy Harlan. I will tell you, Jeremy, it is kind of hard for me to get excited for a week going into football when there's no Falcons playing.
Yep.
But this week 5 that we're about to go over was fucking insane. Had plenty of excitement, had plenty of drama. So I was able to enjoy football without the Falcons being there. So I'm ready to dive right into it if you're ready.
Yeah, man, I'll be honest, during a bye week, it does kind of show me that I do love the NFL like as a sport. Like without watching my favorite team that I'm passionate about, like I still want to like see what's going on around the league, and especially doing this
Yeah.
podcast, like we talk about every game anyways. So
Yeah, and I know that you're not into it, but fantasy definitely does help me keep involved with the NFL. I actually lost this week,
without
which
a
I'm
doubt.
pretty fucking upset about. But
Nice.
there's a reason I lost, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. But all right, so where we left off, it was going to be San Francisco versus the Rams on Thursday Night
Mm-hmm.
Football. What a fucking game that was. It
Yep.
ended up going into overtime. San Francisco sealed it with a 41-yard field goal, and then LA got the ball back, but they couldn't do anything with it. San
Yeah, they
Francisco
went to like 4th and 1 or something like that, and
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
the
it was
game
a
ended.
4th and 1, and Kyron Williams was just stop cold. You know, the San
Yep.
Francisco defense had an answer for everything they threw at him right there. I will say, you know, San Francisco opened strong. They scored in the first 2 drives, and the Rams were just having like miscues. They did have a
Mm-hmm.
late surge. They rallied. They tied it 20-20, but then the 49ers hit a 59-yard field goal in regulation, and it was a 23-20 lead. But then the Rams came back. They drove inside the red zone, and then Kyron Williams fucking fumbled at the 2-yard line, and the turnover killed the go-ahead score. So there was mistakes there. We've seen that shit happen a lot. Everybody fumbling. I don't know what's going on this year in the NFL when all these big plays, all the highlights you're seeing are people fumbling, people dropping it in the red zone. It's been kind of wild right now.
That'll come up again later, like
But
it
I
does
will
every week.
say,
Seems like, yeah.
but with the 49ers being able to do it, you had Mac Jones, who looks fucking stellar out there. He was standing in for Brock Purdy, but Mac
Mm-hmm.
Jones had 342 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he played with a leg injury. And then you had Kendrick Bourne, who had 10 receptions, 142 yards. Then you had Christian McCaffrey, who, holy shit, was on fire. And
Yep.
then the defense was just unstoppable. I mean, not unstoppable to the point where the Rams couldn't have a comeback, but when it was time to stand up, what do I preach all the time on this podcast? Defense wins games, and that's exactly what they did. So, but at the same time, the resurgence that the Rams had in the game, you definitely have to give some of them flowers because Matthew Stafford had 389 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's not like he wasn't trying. He got the ball downfield when he needed to.
It's kind of a regular game for him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
You
say.
know?
Matthew Stafford still is and always will be. As long as he's healthy, he's a force to be reckoned with at quarterback. Never take anything away from Matthew Stafford. You saw his sparks of brilliance in Detroit, and Detroit just didn't have the team built around him that he needed. And then what does he do his first year in Los Angeles? Takes it to a fucking Super Bowl, you know?
Yep.
So he definitely has the talent, especially with the right team, you know. And Kyron Williams, even though he did have the fumble, he still had 131 scrimmage yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. So it was a good threat. You know, it was a great game. These are the kind of games you want to see, especially if your team's not playing and you want to see good football. This is definitely the game you wanted to see. And then even
Sure.
Puka and Tutu, they both, you know, they did their job out there. It wasn't necessarily like the Rams were just playing dog shit football. It's just that, you know, the 49ers had an answer for everything they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And what really, you know, killed it was the fumble at the goal line. And then they had a blocked PAT, and then they failed on a 4th down conversion in overtime. And that, you know, missed time, bad turnovers. And
Yep.
that's what does it for you, you know? So
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to one play. But I was going to say Mac Jones. I mean, like being their backup. I kind of wonder, like,
Mac
does
Jones,
this
who everybody
kind of,
thought was a scrub in New England, by the way.
I agree. Okay. And I thought the same thing. Here's kind of what I think about this. Shout out to Kyle Shanahan, even though I blame him for the Falcons Super Bowl loss. But
Yeah.
he used to be one of the homies. So, and I do recognize his offensive brilliance. I do think that Brock Purdy being out and Mac Jones coming in and still putting up the same numbers and beating a great team like the LA Rams makes me think that, you know, you could put me in the Kyle Shanahan offense and be great. We saw Matt Ryan win an MVP under Kyle Shanahan's offense. But also, like, does that kind of lower Brock Purdy's value a little bit? Like, if you can bring in someone like Mac Jones and it still looks like that?
To me, all it does is create more value for Mac Jones, and it really does put Brock Purdy kind of in the hot seat when he does come back, because it's one of those situations where if Mac Jones is on this hot streak, like let's say he continues to do this, let's say he doesn't revert back to how he was in New England, let's say Kyle Shanahan, and I'm going to touch on the whole Shanahan. You brought up the Super Bowl, so now I can't get that out of my head because
Sorry,
I've got
man,
to touch on that here in a second.
This early in the episode.
No, it's okay, because I feel like something hasn't been said all these years that needs to be said, or at least I haven't heard it be said by anybody but me. However, when it comes to Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, I really think, if anything, it's just going to put Brock Purdy in the hot seat, barring how good Mac Jones is doing. Because when you have a quarterback who's this red hot, who I read you what he did on Thursday night, he was fucking stellar.
Right.
Do you sideline him? Do you say, hey man, our guy's back, you got to sit the bitch? Or do you just let him ride out and maybe give Brock more time to heal, whatever he needs? Or maybe you have a dual threat. Maybe it's just like, all right, dude, Mac, you can sit down for a little bit, but just stay ready. You can be the next man up. It's kind of a catch-22 in that sense, but also at the same time, it does make you kind of worry, because if Purdy comes back before the trade deadline's up, there's teams that need quarterbacks right now. There might be somebody gunning for him, So I think, if anything, it doesn't necessarily take away the value of Brock Purdy as much as it increases the value for Mac Jones.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I would say, yeah, really, it doesn't look great for Brock Purdy, because if it gets to the point where they say like, hey, we can survive with you sitting on the bench, then that's, that doesn't look good for him, as far as like, I know that San Francisco's already paid him a lot of money, but once that's up, people are going to look at him and say, well, you're just that way because you're in Kyle Shanahan's offense, because look at Mac Jones.
Yeah.
He's able to do the same thing. And insert quarterback here probably is able to do the same thing.
Well, what I was going to say about Kyle Shanahan's offense, a lot of people will say that Kyle Shanahan single-handedly lost the Falcons the Super Bowl. So we're gonna have a little bit of this discussion here. I'll say this.
Let's get it out. Let's get it out in the open.
Kyle Shanahan did make the play calls. And I will say, I even made jokes when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl and lost. Like, if I can guarantee you anything, it's that Kyle Shanahan's not going to win a fucking Super Bowl. But I'll say this. Kyle Shanahan wasn't on the field. He didn't have the fucking ball in his hands. If you're an MVP level quarterback like Matt Ryan, and I'm not taking anything away from Matt Ryan. I love Matt Ryan dearly. I think he's the best quarterback we've ever had. But if I'm on the field, if I'm seeing how the game's going, if I'm seeing this shit's not working, no matter what the play call is, no matter what the coach is telling me to do, if I'm seeing it's not working, if I see that we have this fucking big lead, I should think to myself, man, maybe we should just run the ball. Maybe I should just make these little 5-yard throws. I can call an audible. I can put the game into my own hands. I can change the trajectory of this game. I can see that they scored and we need to stop them from scoring. I can take it. So in all honesty, I think nobody's really made Matt Ryan take accountability for the fact that, like, hey man, you could have fucking changed the trajectory of this too. You had the ball in your hands. You could have changed the play call. You could have called an audible. You could have told them what to do instead of just blindly following Kyle Shanahan, who blew the fucking game for you.
Well, I would say to counter that is, especially when we talk about that season, how well did things go by listening to Kyle Shanahan? It was great. Matt Ryan got an MVP. He got Offensive Player of the Year.
But as
he
an
got
MVP
to a Super
quarterback,
Bowl.
don't you think that you should like have a moment of clarity and be like, man, this shit's not working. We're about to blow the Super Bowl.
I think at the time, and to Kyle Shanahan's credit as well, is like nobody saw that coming. That's one of the greatest Super Bowl comebacks in history for a reason, because nobody saw that coming. In hindsight, yes, you got to run the ball. But, Matt Ryan's job was to listen to the play that was coming in and execute the play. It was the wrong thing to do. Kyle Shanahan's even said in interviews during that Super Bowl, after halftime, he was going for the throat. And he figured with one more touchdown, this is over. And after the Julio toe drag swag catch, which, was one of the greatest plays in Falcons history, after that, he was like, oh, we got this. And that was the drive where all we had to do, we literally could have kneeled the ball till fourth down, kicked a field goal. We were in field goal range, and that would have put the game out of reach. But instead, he decided he wanted to keep throwing. Matt Ryan gets sacked. Devontae Freeman misses a block. That makes that happen. Turns into a sack fumble. Turns into another touchdown for Tom Brady, and in which he holds the ball and does a long drive and makes sure that we don't get it back. I certainly don't put that on Matt Ryan at all. Kyle Shanahan has at least, eaten that and said publicly that that was his mindset and it was the wrong decision.
I don't know. I kind of put it on both of them. Like I put it on the play calling, and I also put it on the fact that like as an MVP quarterback, as the MVP of the league, you should be able to take note and be like, all right, we got to do something different. I got to put this in my own hands and make something happen. But we can talk about this all fucking day ad nauseum.
But I think that Matt Ryan's not like that Peyton Manning guy. Like, I think he's a great quarterback, and I think he deserved the MVP that year. But he's not that like absolute top tier level guy that will take over an offense and say, no, I'm going to do it like this. Not saying that Matt's never done that, but I think in that situation, he had no reason not to trust Kyle Shanahan for the season that they had. It was the greatest season of his career by far.
I don't know. I'm just still bitter about it, and I always will be.
I am too.
But moving along, we had the Vikings versus the Browns, and the Vikings were able to seal this. The Vikings were able to beat the Browns in this in England. So that's another thing I wanted to touch on. The week before that, they were playing in Ireland. Then they play in England. So you got to think that there's jet lag. There's, you're not getting to see. You're not getting the sleep you need. You're doing all this fucking traveling.
Granted, in England,
drinking Guinness, but granted, I don't think Ireland to London is that far of a trip. But it's kind of just like you're in another country for an extended period of time.
It's the same time zone,
and it's just like that's got to do a lot on you. Staying put in a foreign country for as long as you were. I know it's a very very similar to America in certain aspects, but at the same time, it's still a foreign country.
You got to think those guys are like on vacation all week. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But then it was a late drive. Carson Wentz led a clutch 10-play, 80-yard drive to win the game with only 25 seconds remaining. He hit Jordan Addison for a 12-yard touchdown. Addison was kind of on thin ice. He got benched in the first quarter because he missed a walkthrough earlier in the week. But, when you come back and you do a clutch play like that, you kind of redeem yourself. I think the head coaches and everybody in the front all is forgiven for that. But at the same time, dude, don't miss your walkthroughs. I mean, you play as a team, be a fucking team player. Maybe he was enjoying London too much, Yep. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he did hit up London. Maybe he had a little too much fun. Maybe he got stuck in one of the red Doctor Who phone booths, Maybe it wasn't his fault,
Yep. He went back in time.
But on top of that, Wentz was actually playing with a shoulder injury. He got banged up really bad. His left shoulder was hurting him for the rest of the game, but he was able to play through it. He actually finished with 25 out of 34 with 236 yards, one touchdown pass, which is the one I just mentioned, but he had no interceptions. So we talked about how, is Carson Wentz as great as, his Philadelphia season, everything like that. I think he's showing he's a pretty solid quarterback. He's definitely what the Vikings need right now, especially with J.J. McCarthy being hurt. I still don't know when J.J. McCarthy's going to be back. But, I don't think you could ask for a better, runner-up than this, Like I said, next man up, and he's doing a great job. I personally do think that when McCarthy's healthy, McCarthy's probably going to go back in because they want to see more of him. But I think this means that they know they can rely on Wentz if they need to. Also, on top of that, you had Justin Jefferson, who was going off. He had 7 catches and 123 yards, which it's weird when you see a stat line like that from a receiver. 7 catches, 123 yards, no touchdowns. It's kind of wild. But, it is what it is.
Yep. I will say about that game, first of all, I had some friends in town on Saturday night, and Sunday they were leaving town, and we were all going to go get breakfast. And I get my truck and I turn on the radio, and it's just on the sports radio station, and I hear an English guy calling a game. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is it? Soccer going on?
Soccer.
Yeah, and they're like, and he's running in for a touchdown. And I'm like, whoa, holy shit.
It's even more confusing because they were playing at the Tottenham Stadium, which is a historic soccer club over there.
Yep.
So I can see where things get lost in translation. You're like, oh, I know you're saying football, but do you mean our football or your football?
Right. Yeah. Well, when I heard, touchdown or whatever, I was like, oh, okay. All right.
This is
a game in England.
Like touchdown. That's a really weird way to say goal.
And right. Golazo. Well, that's more on our hemisphere, the way they say that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going to say Dylan Gabriel, who's taking over in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, I was going to touch on him, man.
So I feel like in that game, the Vikings came back to win that in the second half. And Dylan Gabriel, the way that he was playing was like just so conservative to the point where Cleveland's driving at the end of the game and they have a chance to throw at the end zone. They're on, they're on the other team's 50-yard line or, at the 40 or whatever. And he throws a check down, like with the time expiring. Like, why wouldn't you throw to the end zone?
Yeah.
I think that they were playing a
Yeah.
lot. They were playing to not lose instead of playing to win.
Hmm.
And we've seen teams
Yeah.
do this so many times over the years, man. Every time you do that, you're going to lose. You can't do
Yeah.
that.
The Vikings did have some cool shit they were doing though, man.
Yeah.
Cam Akers faked a handoff and tossed it to Josh Oliver for a 32-yard touchdown,
Yeah.
which I thought was incredible. It was fun to see. But I do agree with you on Dylan Gabriel. But there's some good stuff to take away from Dylan Gabriel. He didn't have any turnovers in his
Nope.
very first NFL start. He didn't throw an interception, and that's a huge plus. And he had great completion numbers for his first game. He was 19 of 33 with 190 yards and 2 touchdown passes. But I do understand what
That's
you're
great
asking.
for a guy coming in. Yeah, a young guy coming in and taking over the starting job. That's great. But again, like not that he should have had turnovers, but like
game, do you think that they were just playing very conservatively with him? Just to
probably so, but I also think that he's that quarterback.
To do heroics, you know.
Well, I don't think he's a heroic quarterback.
No.
That's just me guessing. And look, he could come back next week, and I'm completely wrong. But to be honest, I bet you, in 4 weeks, Shedeur Sanders is going to start. Cleveland loves cycling through quarterbacks. If they don't get enough wins, they're gonna find a reason to bench him. Whether that's a phantom injury or they just.
We'll touch on Shedeur in a second because I will say it can't. You got to look at what Cleveland has. Their receiver support is fucking shaky. Jerry Jeudy was dropping passes. Isaiah Bond didn't have any impact on the game at all. So you got to look at what he has with him. Like I don't think he's.
It's going to be Cleveland's fault, but they're going to blame it on him. This is what they always do, man. This is why they lost Baker Mayfield.
The only thing I can see it being is that there was no deep passing because they're not asking him to do it. I think they did want to go out there and play conservatively just to see what this rookie had, and I think he showed them some positive things. But Cleveland. Besides Njoku, who the fuck are you going to throw the ball to? You don't have a good core there. You don't have a good team there. If I'm the quarterback,
I'm not blaming this on Dylan Gabriel. I just have no faith in the Cleveland Browns organization and making good decisions.
Same here.
And just looking at their track record, what they do with quarterbacks, I guarantee you, they're going to get down to Shedeur Sanders by the end of the season. I guarantee you, whether it's the right decision or not, they're going to keep. They'll pass the buck and pass the blame on whoever's playing quarterback right now, and they'll never, actually learn from their mistakes. They'll never draft a good team around these quarterbacks that they always seem to get, that always seem to go somewhere else and do fine.
I mean,
except for Johnny
to be
Manziel.
Completely honest, I'll tell you if I was the quarterback in Cleveland, my number one priority would be just to not get hurt because it seems impossible to do out there.
Right.
But, now that we do that, I did want to, we touched on Shedeur Sanders here a little bit, saying that, Cleveland will probably take him in at some point. I kind of don't know how I feel about that because I feel like there's definitely a locker room Shedeur that we don't know about. I feel like they had a very opportune, they had a chance to put him in there because think about putting him in. Think about what it would do for viewership. Think about what it would do
season
for
ticket
media
holders and stuff like
season
that.
ticket holders. People are waiting. People are chomping at the bit just to see Shedeur Sanders play. And honestly, I don't think he's going to live up to the expectations he has in his head. And it bothers me, the things that he said publicly, because he had an opportunity to go to Baltimore. It's been very publicized that he had an opportunity to go to Baltimore. And he said that he didn't want to be Lamar Jackson's backup, which is one of the most asinine things I've ever fucking heard.
Now you're Dylan Gabriel's backup. How does that feel?
Well, you were Joe Flacco's backup. Now you're Dylan Gabriel's backup. When you had the chance to be Lamar Jackson's backup, who, if you look at Dylan Gabriel, you look at Joe Flacco, and you look at Lamar Jackson, who do you want to model your playing after? You could learn so much from Lamar Jackson. You guys, you're trying to be like Lamar Jackson. You have a similar play style. I feel like you should have taken the rookie contract with them, learned everything you could have learned from Lamar Jackson, and then go on to a different team. Because let's face it, Lamar Jackson is going to be there till the end of his career. He's a Raven.
Right, but look at him right now. Like, Shedeur could be getting play time with the Baltimore Ravens.
That was my next point. That was my next point.
They've built their offense around a guy who plays kind of like Shedeur.
Exactly.
So you could come into an ideal situation. I brought this up about Washington last week when they played the Falcons. Marcus Mariota coming into an offense that was built around Jaden Daniels, when Marcus Mariota plays a lot like Jaden Daniels, and he did pretty well in the starts that he had.
Translated just fine.
Yeah. So Shedeur could be having that same thing, and he could be building that rapport and then, talking with his agent when it's time for his rookie contract to be up and he still didn't have the starting job and another team needs him. He would have, he would have some leverage in getting him a new job. But right now, he ain't playing at all. He's backing up Dylan Gabriel.
I'll tell you, if over there in Cleveland, if the fucking receiving corps gets their head out of their ass and Dylan Gabriel shows you that he can just be, he doesn't have to be a stellar, Showtime MVP.
He can just run the offense, game manager.
He can just run the offense. If he can just run the offense and get you guys some wins, you're not going to play Shedeur. If you went to Baltimore, you'd be playing right now. You would have played this game against Texas that we played on Sunday right now. You
would probably be making more money too, because I think he would have gotten drafted higher.
Yeah, a hell of a lot more money. But instead, you played the little arrogant card. You thought you were better than you are, and now look at you. You were QB3 in Cleveland, and now
you said that he was Joe Flacco's backup. He was never Joe Flacco's backup. Dylan Gabriel was. He is now Dylan Gabriel's backup. He wasn't. He was the backup to the backup. Yeah, and that right now,
squad. He was the practice squad quarterback.
And let's go ahead and say today we found out Joe Flacco gets traded to the Bengals.
Yeah.
So that does move him up. But let's talk about it. Go ahead.
I did. No. I was going to get there because you saw that the Bengals were kind of mounting some offense against Detroit. Detroit beat them, but not by a wide margin. I mean, of course, we all knew Detroit was going to, but, Cincinnati had some battle in them. So the missing piece there was a quarterback, and they went out. And then earlier today, you and I were talking, and they signed Joe Flacco. Now, I don't necessarily think Joe Flacco is the missing piece.
No.
But he's going to do a lot better than, what they had at their disposal.
What do you think Jamar Chase thinks right now when he saw that news? He's like, okay,
I don't think he's too happy about it.
But I mean, at least they have someone who can come in and run the offense.
Yeah, but you got a quarterback
Jake Browning wasn't really doing
Jamar Chase's dad, probably. You know what I mean?
I agree. And look, I think that it was cool to see Joe Flacco still doing it last year. But this year, it seems like he didn't have
hit right, man.
When he gets to the Bengals, it's going to be like when Matt Ryan went to the Colts. They're going to be like, "Oh, we've got a real quarterback. At least he's going to be able to do this." And then, I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, no. Right now at Joe Flacco's career, it's kind of like when you're going to see that fucking inspirational Disney football movie. You already got your popcorn. You're sitting in your seats, and the big change in his season happened. And now, is it going to be a swan song, or is it going to be he retires early in mid-season? Who knows? Speaking of which,
or he gets benched.
Are you kind of surprised that the Bengals didn't target Kirk Cousins?
Not really, and I honestly think it's two reasons. Kirk Cousins is very expensive. They would have to eat a lot of Kirk Cousins' contract that I think everyone around the league looks as kind of a monstrosity because it is. And also, I think that the Falcons are asking a lot for him because if Michael Penix goes down, we do have a nice insurance policy, which is Kirk Cousins will come out, and we know he can run the offense. He's not going to be as good as Michael Penix. I think we've all seen that, and we all agree on that. But I think that if Michael Penix were to go down, and given his injury history in the past when he was in college, I think he's had 3 or 4 knee surgeries. Yeah, that could happen. I hope it doesn't. Fingers crossed. But if that were to happen, you could bring Kirk Cousins out, and you have a professional quarterback there, and we don't have a Dylan Gabriel out there.
Yeah, yeah, very true. But speaking of the Ravens, we got a little sidetracked. But going into the Ravens are in trouble. And in all honesty, Shedeur, if you're as good as you wanted people to believe you are, now would have been your chance to prove to the world.
Could have been the savior of Baltimore.
Now could have been your time to prove that you don't need to be Lamar Jackson's backup. Now could have been your time to prove that you're just as good, if not better, than Lamar Jackson, considering you didn't want to be his backup. But we're not going to get to see that. We're not going to get to see you prove that. So, fucking well. Now, anyways, CJ Stroud fucking destroyed out there.
Finally, man. And look, CJ's had a tough season so far. That offensive line has not helped him at all. Well, so getting to see him do something was nice.
And
actually stay on his feet.
Completely fucking fell apart. CJ Stroud was surgical. 23 of 27, 244 and 4 fucking pass downs with touchdowns with 0 fucking interceptions. You don't see numbers
Yeah.
like that every day. That is fucking
Nope.
remarkable. But it's
Nope.
the simple, sad fact that he was able to do that to Baltimore, who you got when Lamar Jackson is there. Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate every fucking season, which once again, Shador, it'd probably be good to learn from that guy, right? Probably be fucking good to learn from somebody who's in the MVP race every single fucking year of his career since he started. But I digress. Anyways, also, Houston scored on every single possession that they ran. They went 3 for 3 in the red zone. They converted 5 of 6 third downs in the first half. And then they intercepted the Ravens 3 fucking times. 3 times. Yep. And then, not only that, listen to what their defense did. Their defense held Derrick Henry, King Henry, Derrick Henry, who everybody is fucking shook with fear when they see that he's lining up against them. 33 yards on 15 fucking carries to Derrick Henry. Yikes. So, and on top of that, Baltimore gave up 417 yards, including 167 rushing yards.
Yeah, and I think that like the biggest problem with the Ravens is the defense. I was saying that when Lamar Jackson was still playing. I think I was saying that like week 2 or week 3. I think week 3 is when he went down. I mean, and look, if the Ravens don't have a good passing attack and they don't have Lamar Jackson out there, which I mean, and Lamar Jackson brings you more than just a passing attack because, you know, you got to fear the RPO with Derrick Henry back there. They don't have that right now.
Well, their quarterback can't pull it off.
No, absolutely not. And then, you know, when your defense is going to be that soft, I mean, they're in big trouble, man. They got one win right now. They've played some good teams, but you know, I wouldn't say that the Texans are a great team, and they lost to them. I wouldn't even say
that Kansas City is a great team. You know,
I wouldn't either. You know, I did say last week like maybe they're back, and I kind of felt a little foolish as I thought about it. I was like, oh, they're 2-2 and they're back.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, but we'll get there.
Speaking of which, oh man, we've got so much to fucking unpack. But I
know,
did want to say,
so many great games on this bye week.
No, it's great, and I did want to say another thing you want to touch on when you have somebody like Lamar Jackson, when you have somebody who the team builds their culture around, who like you can guarantee that Derrick Henry wanted to go to Baltimore as Lamar Jackson being there as a big reason, you know, and it kind of
2 dynamic running threats on the field at the same time at all times.
And when you lose him, not only does the morale go down, you have a complete identity crisis as a team. You don't know who you are anymore. Yep. And on top of that, their defense is fucking hemorrhaging. Their defense is bleeding out right now. They have, I think, 4 starters that are out. So they're basically playing with a fucking secondary defense. That's why the Texans were able to run over them like this. If I pull up the report, it's you got Humphrey, Awuzie, Hamilton, and Roquan all out on the defense.
Right. Yeah. That's your practice squad coming out there.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So it's going to take a lot. It's going to take Lamar coming back. It's going to take the defense getting healthy. It's going to take them getting their identity back. But the thing about Lamar Jackson, he's so good. Listen to this, Shador. Lamar Jackson is so fucking good that I bet he can come back from an injury and still be in the fucking MVP race. Still be in the race.
Yeah, I could see that him coming back and being in the race, but is that going to save the Ravens at this point? I think there's 3 teams that are in big trouble in my opinion right now, and it's the Ravens, it's the Bengals, and the Dolphins,
and the Packers.
Packers, I wouldn't say are in big trouble right now. I mean, what they got 2 wins and a tie.
They're getting there.
And they had a bye week. I mean, look, they're on trouble watch, the A-Town Rundown trouble watch.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Falcons don't end up on that list.
Trouble watch. If there's a big trouble watch going on right now, and you mentioned year 3, I will say the Jets live on the trouble watch. The Raiders need to go ahead and pack it up and get ready for the fucking all season.
Yeah, okay. The Raiders and
what a joke.
And the Jets. Right, yeah, I mean, like I never put them outside of the trouble watch. They started the season on the trouble watch.
I like that.
And I'm not sure they're going to get out of it.
A little trouble watch. Are you on the trouble watch? You might want to get off of that.
You might be in trouble.
But no, moving along. I ripped into how much the Saints suck last week, and karma bit me in the ass because the Saints came out. They won, but let's be real about who they won against. They won against a rookie quarterback and the Giants, who I'm not saying that the Giants don't have fucking talent. They beat the Giants 26-14. It was their first win of the season. Big fucking deal. That might be the only one you get. Shut the fuck up.
I got more to say about that, dude. Go ahead and recap the game, and then I'll say what I got to say.
But Spencer Rattler had 225 yards. Big deal. You did it against the Giants. Nobody's giving you flowers. Nobody's busting champagne bottles for you. Shut the fuck up. And then you got Kool-Aid McKinstry, who they have a guy named Kool-Aid on the team. I don't want no problems.
I love that
I don't want
name.
no problems with Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Didn't he play at Alabama? He sounds like someone who played at Alabama.
He intercepted. I think it was. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't know if he did, but with the name, I hope that he played for Alabama.
I'm pretty sure he did.
But he had 2 interceptions, and then they were able to turn those into points. But what went wrong for the Giants was it was just a turnover apocalypse. They had 5 turnovers in a row. There were fumbles by Dart, fumbles by Slayton. Cam Skibido, I hope I'm not butchering his last name. That guy's a monster. That guy is fucking insane.
You saw that shit,
guy
man.
is
He
fucking wild. He
ran
him over like he was nothing. But he had a red zone fumble, which kind of, took away all the good shit he did in the game. And then there were penalties. There were drops, misreads, underthrown passes. There was a flea flicker, for example, which went to shit. And then there was
scary to do in the NFL. That's college
and
play.
there was no response. Once the momentum shifted to the Saints, the Giants just didn't have an answer for them. I will say Jackson Dart, which is he that I'm referring to, he did have 2 scoring drives. He connected with Theo Johnson for both touchdowns, and he did show that he's tough. He did have scrambling, but at the same time, he's not experienced enough yet to know what he's doing out there on his own.
I'm not
especially
out
with
on
the team
him
he's
yet.
got around him. I'm not either.
He had a bad game, but his first start was pretty good. Second start, not so good, especially against a bad team. That doesn't look great. But he's had 2 starts. Let's see where they go with
I lean more towards optimism with caution with him. Like stay on his side, but give him about 2 or 3 more games, and then you'll really know what he's got.
I think about him like the same way I think about JJ McCarthy. We haven't seen enough yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, haven't seen enough. But what I did see enough of was, speaking of how abysmal the fucking Raiders are, the Colts.
Wait, hold on. Let me say my thing about the Saints. All right.
I completely forgot. Right. My bad.
Yeah. All good. Before we get on to the Raiders and how bad they suck. So I did see on X all Sunday night was people like comparing stats from Spencer Rattler to Michael Penix, because this is how Saints fans are.
Don't do that.
They're like, look at these numbers. Oh, they're pretty similar. Yeah, but it took you till year 2 to get your first win, dumbass.
Yeah. And also,
what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Also, look at the win column and look at who you played. Look at who you're playing. You beat the Giants.
You got your first win against one of the worst teams in the NFL, who had to get rid of their quarterback that they started with, Russell Wilson, to bring in a rookie who looks okay. He had a sloppy rookie game against your, I guess your franchise guy, and there's no way in hell Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is like the Saints' Desmond Ridder.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For Falcons fans, like just just as a comparison. And
I don't even think he's good as Desmond Ridder.
I was about to say, Desmond Ridder certainly has more wins in the NFL right now as far as how many starts that Spencer Rattler's had at this point. You're in your second year, and we're a quarter of the way through the season, and you got your first NFL win. Kiss my ass. Fuck the Saints. Go back to New Orleans. All right.
And you didn't even do it by that impressive of a margin. You capitalized on the Giants beat themselves. You capitalized on their mistakes. You didn't make anything happen. You just let the other team fuck up. That's all that happened.
Yes. And look, if you play NFL long enough, you're going to see that happen. Yep.
Yeah. It was kind of how the Browns beat the Packers the other week. It was kind of just like that. It was kind of how Carolina beat the Falcons. The team beat themselves.
Yep.
But
Zach Robinson.
Yeah. But moving on, the Colts did an absolute beatdown on the Raiders, 40-6. So, and it was weird because there was a slow start. The Raiders did have a 3-0 lead, but then Indianapolis came back and they scored 20 points in both the second and third quarter. They scored on 6 straight possessions. possessions, and the Raiders never really had a threat for them after that. There's nothing they could do after putting up the 6 points. And Jonathan Taylor was an absolute fucking wrecking ball. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. Daniel Jones, he went 20 for 29, 212 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, which seems to be a trend in week 5. There's a lot of quarterbacks this week that had 0 turnovers, which is exciting to see. You know, that makes football great. But then you go to the Raiders. Geno Smith had an okay game in terms of completions, because he did have 25 of 36, but he also had 2 interceptions. So 2 of those completions were to the other team, which, you know, you're not supposed to do that.
No, you can't do that.
And then, and then there was a block punt. Midway through the second quarter, the Raiders were punting, and then the Colts, Segun Alubi, I think is how you say his name, but he blocked the punt, and then they got it at the Raiders' 8-yard line. They were able to score on that, and dude, the Colts were just dominating. They're back. The only thing that did happen was Spencer Schrader got hit, and he's the kicker for the Colts. He suffered a torn ACL and MCL. He's out for the rest of the season, and because of that, I lost. Because
ACL
of that,
and
I lost.
MCL.
Yeah, because of that, I lost my fantasy football week because he was on my team and he went down in like the first quarter, dude. It was awful.
I have no sympathy for you,
but
or
then
any fantasy players.
I want to go back. And say we've touched on this before. How Carly Ursay is taking over for the Colts, and she's down there on the sidelines. I do think this has to be a positive impact that she's having on them because they're playing as such. And don't get me wrong, she's been involved with the team for a while. I learned that she used to do marketing and ticketing for them, and she gradually took on more football responsibilities. And I think the fact that she's down there, when you see an ownership that really does give a fuck and is involved, and she's got to be having these conversations with these players, and whatever she's doing on the sidelines with the headset on, being involved with the players, it's obviously translating into good football playing because the Colts, granted, they did have a loss last week, but, you know, it's hard to have a season without a loss. You know, that's a gimme. And then to come back like this, putting
no
up
undefeated teams left in the NFL right now, by the way.
Yeah, no. And then coming back and putting up 40 points, you know, and granted you did it against Vegas, but you still put up 40 points in an NFL football game, which is a hard feat to do.
Absolutely.
And you're playing like you have a point to prove. And I love it. I love it for Indianapolis. They look great out there.
Yeah, I'm happy for Daniel Jones too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finding some new scenery and having some success, man. Like nobody gave a shit about him. Like he had a little bit of hype coming into his job at New York Giants. Never really turned into anything. They ended up losing Saquon. They didn't have the team around him. He goes to the Colts, which I didn't think had a great team, but look at him now. They're legitimate playoff contenders, I'll say. In a division that, you know, there might be another team in that division that might get there. We'll talk about them later.
If we went ahead and we did take this time to talk about if we can even see a playoff picture right now, because I will tell you, if you asked me in week 1, week 2, maybe even week 3, I would have told you my Super Bowl prediction was going to be the Packers versus the Bills. I don't know if I necessarily see that anymore. And now with the way these games are ever changing, with how it's going, everything's been such a dramatic change from week 1. Now here we are in week 5 going into week 6. It's almost like you're not even seeing the same teams out there, because I would have told you that after week 1, you know, you might see Cincinnati in the playoffs. You're not going to see Cincinnati in the playoffs. I don't know if you're going to see Baltimore in the playoffs this year. I don't know how deep Kansas City is going to get in the playoffs this year, if they even are going to get into the playoffs, you know? So it's been a wild ride. You're completely out on Kansas City.
I'm out on Kansas City. I'm not going to say that they don't make the playoffs, but I do not see them being a Super Bowl contender. I don't.
I will tell you who I'm suddenly in on is the Patriots.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into it, but after that game against the Bills, I think, I might see the Patriots make a little playoff run. Now, granted, we say that after they've won, I think 2 games, you know, I think they're 2-2. We say that going into there, but
they may be 3-2.
Or 3-2.
They're 3-2. Yeah.
But we say that going in there, and now, you know, with especially with how wacky this fucking season's been, they might go out there and get fucking destroyed next week. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Are we getting into that game, the Bills and the Patriots, or you got more to talk about?
We'll get there because I did want to touch on.
There's a couple that I'm waiting to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, because this may be one of them, because I wanted to touch on the Eagles versus the Broncos. You know, it was wild to see the Broncos beat the Eagles. They didn't beat them by a hefty margin. It was only 21-17. But Jalen Hurts, he looked all right out there. He had some touchdowns, but it was the way that the Broncos hit the pedal in quarter 4 with J.K. Dobbins, and Bo Nix just looked fucking amazing out there. Evan
Yep.
Ingram, Troy
The league is
Franklin.
kind of sleeping on Bo Nix. Like, I think he's turning into a franchise guy.
So on top of that, they got it to where, Saquon didn't do shit in the tail end of the game. And then now that you mentioned Bo Nix, I did want to kind of touch on how I think the Broncos are a lot better than people are giving them credit for, but I really think it's that Bo Nix is legit. He's playing like a veteran. He's definitely somebody you got to watch out for. And because of him, I might be willing to put the Broncos into the playoff run, and on top of that, the Broncos defense is nasty. I don't know if you saw, they got 6 sacks on Jalen Hurts, bro. And so
which is hard to do. Hard to do on an offensive line like that.
Especially with who they have. And when it's something like that, it's not a fluke. It's not just we made magic happen. They knew what they were doing out there. They were playing very disciplined, and they had this big culture shift. Once Sean Payton went out there, the team has gone from a mess to organized, and it's been impressive to see. And especially Bo Nix has had a complete turnaround in his career. So I do see Bo Nix and the Broncos being competitors this year.
Yeah, I think so. Not to mention that Denver is a tough place to play when you're the away team. When you fly in there, like, your body acts different being at that altitude. And so that's already an advantage. But I will say about the Eagles, what I said last week is that I feel like they went to sleep on the Bucks and almost gave that one up. I honestly feel like the Bucks should have won that. They had too many mistakes in the first half, but the Eagles, did just enough in that first half. But I told you the stats from last week. In the second half, they had -1 total yards on offense.
Yeah.
So I wasn't shocked to see them lose this game because I feel like they're slipping a little bit. Again, talking about Super Bowl favorites, I don't feel like the Eagles are one of them. We talked about A.J. Brown last week and about how, how he's upset with how many targets he's getting and how he's involved in the offense. Well, we heard that Devontae Smith might be saying the same thing. He's just not as vocal about it. Like, the insiders around the team are saying that. And if you think about the way that their offense is built, which is a lot of RPO and hand it to Saquon and then tush push, especially when they get to the red zone, like these receivers are like, what am I here for?
And also, when you have that type of culture shift, when you have that type of animosity in the locker room, when you have all the he said, she said, when you have all that
it's
drama,
going to catch up to them.
It's hard to get it out of your head when you're out there on the football field because, like, if somebody thinks they're not getting enough plays called to them, they're going to be in Jalen's ear. Jalen's going to be in the coach's ear. The coach is going to be telling Jalen what to do. Then you've got animosity between receiver and quarterback. It just becomes a mess. So, we could be seeing that unravel right in front of us. That could be what's going on. It could be a lot of behind-the-scenes locker room bullshit that's translating into the football field because I don't understand how the Eagles would fall apart like that, granted all the talent they have. And I say that saying that the Broncos are very talented too, and I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying you go into this game expecting the Eagles to dominate, and then they don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Eagles are bad. And I'm not saying that the Broncos beat a bad team. They certainly didn't. They beat the Super Bowl champs and gave them their first loss of the season in Week 5. But I do think that there's more Eagles losses ahead, for sure. Just from what I've seen so far this season and the way that they're playing and the way they went to sleep on the Bucks, and the Bucks almost stole one from them. And the Bucks are, one of those teams that seem to have that magic where, if you keep it close there at the end of the game, like they can get you.
Oh, wait,
more times than not, they're going to get you.
Are we getting ready to talk about Baker Mayfield? Is it time to talk about Baker Mayfield?
Why does he keep coming up on this podcast? I wish he wouldn't, but he is.
Talk about Baker Mayfield, one of my favorite guys.
Let's go.
I fucking love Baker Mayfield. Let me tell you about Baker Mayfield this past Sunday. Another fourth quarter come behind victory for Baker Mayfield. Granted, this time it was in the kicker's hands. This time the kicker did it, but they beat the Seahawks 38-35. It was a complete shutout. Late in the fourth quarter, Sam Darnold gave Seattle the lead with a touchdown, but Tampa Bay responded. Mayfield had a go-ahead drive. He hit Sterling Shepard for an 11-yard touchdown. Now there's a minute and 8 seconds left in the game at this point. Seattle got the ball back, but then Levante David intercepted Darnold, and with 58 seconds
hold
left,
on. Let's bring up how that happened. Didn't Sam Darnold, he throws throws it and it bounces off his receiver's helmet
It
and
bounced
ends up
off the
in
helmet.
Levante David's hands.
Yes, so it got deflected
That's what I'm
off of
saying
the
about
helmet.
the Bucks having that magic this year, which is scary.
Hey, man. I think it's Baker Mayfield. I think it's
when you have those football gods, game-changing plays like.
Well, speaking of football gods, last time you saw a fourth quarter quarterback that was as good as Baker is right now, and they played for Tampa Bay. What was their name?
Don't bring him up.
Are we comparing? Are we about to compare Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield on this podcast?
I certainly won't. But no,
I won't either.
I do think that
would be fun.
And I've said this before. Here's another, fourth quarter game for Baker Mayfield that's decided by one score. Had their only loss so far this season last week against the Eagles. You cannot let them be that close. You can't. They're finding a way. Baker's finding a way to win the game with the ball in his hands. He will listen. He's going to make mistakes like he did against the Eagles, but he came back and got him this week, and I bet he's going to keep doing it.
No. It's not just fourth quarter either. Baker was 29 of 33, 379 yards,
game.
2 touchdowns. But I gotta wonder, okay, I love Baker. I've made it very clear on social media and in my personal life and everything else. I love Baker Mayfield. I've always loved him. But
I think he's a dork, and I've said that a lot.
But where do we separate clutch from elite? And is Baker with this season, if he keeps doing what he's doing, does he reach the elite conversation? Because he has the repeated late magic. He's got efficiency in pressure situation. He's got great leadership. The team seems to rally around him, and he's maximizing his personnel.
He can do that kind of Josh Allen thing where like it's very hard to get pressure on him. And
but
he can get out of the pocket and he can extend the play and still pass.
And he's doing everything.
He doesn't. And here's another thing I want to bring up about the Bucks. Ibuka, man, like an amazing rookie. Yeah. Like he's killing it. Yeah. You got Mike Evans is going to be coming back soon.
Weapon, dude.
Yep. And then Chris Godwin is still kind of getting his feet under him after his injury. He didn't play football for almost a whole calendar year. Is it safe to say that like even when Mike Evans comes back, that Ibuka and Baker's chemistry that they've already built so far in the season, that Ibuka might already be wide receiver 1 for them?
No. I'm on there with you, and I think when you got Ibuka, when you got Godwin, and when you got Evans, when you have those 3 guys, defenses aren't gonna know who to fucking look for.
I was going to say, like when
Baker
Mike Evans comes back,
dude.
Yeah, when Mike Evans comes back, and he normally eats up a lot of double teams. When that happens, and now you're leaving this crazy rookie open that Baker clearly has a good connection with, that's dangerous. Now their defense, they got a lot of injuries right now, and that's definitely something to look at. Yeah, but as far as their offense goes, man, like Tampa's offense is fucking awesome right now.
Yeah, and what I was saying was, even though I was kind of joking with who I'm comparing to, but when you look at his late game performances and you think about the elite level players that did that, he's kind of in the conversation of trending that way, because there's a regular quarterback, then there's a fourth quarter quarterback who knows how to close the game, and he's teetering towards the latter part of that conversation. He knows how to win games. He knows what he has to do to finish the game strong, and I think maybe people don't want to admit it. Maybe people don't like him. Maybe who he was in college rubbed people the wrong way. Maybe who he was in Cleveland, because let's get it. He did come in here very cocky, very arrogant, and then Cleveland has a way of humbling people because of the way that organization goes. But when you look at him now,
I don't blame him for it at all.
Yeah, but when you look at him now, he's more mature. He's more poised. Yep. It looks like he's really learned how to be an established quarterback, and he's doing it very well. So I personally think that he is without a doubt in the elite conversation, and I don't think we've seen the best Baker Mayfield yet. I think the best years are still on their way.
I would say, let me say this, there will be an MVP of this season, and it probably will be a quarterback. And if I had to think of a quarterback that I could make a case for right now, Baker's up there, man. Baker's up there. He really is. He really is.
He is.
I mean, I'll say it.
Absolutely. So I will say this. If you ever see me in a Baker Mayfield jersey, mind your fucking business. I just won't wear it during football season.
I will not let you live that down.
So
I will bring it up on the podcast.
We got one more game to go into before we go into the Bills game, and that's going to be the excitement that happened last night with the Jaguars versus the Chiefs. Trevor Lawrence pulled it off in dramatic fashion, looking like a newborn fucking giraffe out there, the way he was stumbling, and then before he ran it into the fucking end zone for that. But what a game! What a victory for Jacksonville. There was part of me that thought Kansas City, might be on the verge of coming back, but no. They're not. They're not the same old Kansas City anymore. And I'll tell you, if I'm Kansas City, I'm a little bit worried that the dynasty you guys are used to is coming to a fucking end.
Yeah, man, it's not. They haven't rebuilt like as the teams kind of changed over the years. They haven't like last year. I feel like they stumbled their way into the Super Bowl, and when they actually got there, they got their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is going to be there a long time, and if they continue to build around him, they're always going to be in the conversation. But this year, we're kind of seeing that like they did not build around him enough. Travis Kelce had a great game, but that's not going to be enough to last the whole season. He doesn't have a great game every week. Patrick Mahomes is still going to make mistakes. There was that one play where it was a clear for 31 other teams in the league would have been a defensive pass interference. They don't call it on the Chiefs. It turns into a pick. They score off of it. I don't remember if it was a field goal or a touchdown. But when I was checking in on the game last night and I saw that Jacksonville was in the lead, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then as I'm looking at like the game cast on the ESPN app, Kansas City scores a touchdown and there's like a minute and 45 left or something. I'm like, oh, okay, well, fuck, this is over. If it was within a field goal, I would feel good about Jacksonville getting it. Well, they actually get down there, and everybody's seen the play at this point, where Trevor Lawrence gets the ball, and I think his offensive lineman steps on his foot. He falls down. He tries to get up. He falls down again. All Kansas City had to do was put a fucking finger on him, and they couldn't do it. He gets up.
All you had to do was just shove him just a little bit.
His offensive line never gave up. They continued to block.
He was already on
skates
skates
around
out there.
Yeah, but they continue to block for him. Chris Jones completely gave up on the play, completely just back there hanging out like he's about to drop into coverage after watching Trevor Lawrence get back on his feet after a couple of tries. And he runs in and gets the touchdown. That was it.
Man, personally, with the way Chris Jones is playing this year, it's almost like he's checked out, dude.
That's what it feels like. It's like he's got enough rings. He's going to be all right,
And I'll
look,
tell
he's
you,
got
man,
a hell of a legacy. Probably going to be a Hall of Famer, for his position.
Absolutely. And the way that Kansas City lost last night, like that's not a fluke. Like that's an absolute collapse. Like you guys should have. And this on
they were
top
up 14-0
of that,
against Jacksonville.
Yeah, against Jacksonville. And then on top of that, this is a Kansas City first sub 500 start since 2021 with a record of 2-3 now. They have not been this bad since. And
they are not
years.
back.
Yeah, no, they're not back at all.
They are not back
at all. And so now we're moving on to the part of the show where I'm going to let my beautiful, wonderful co-host take over because I know he's been itching for this. But let's talk about the Bills and Patriots game.
There we go. Yeah, so all I'm going to say about this game is, first of all, Drake May looked awesome. He played very well. But also, I think this says a lot about the Bills. I brought up their defense last week. I don't think they're good. I don't think they're great in pass coverage. And we already know that, like, statistically, they're one of the worst teams in the league as far as run defense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Josh Allen is incredible and extremely talented, but he will throw into coverage. And it will bite him in the ass sometimes. And I think this has been a thing in his career. Like, we were talking about Baker Mayfield. Like, he's one of those guys where he can get out of the pocket, he can keep the play alive and still pass the ball. And when you can kind of dance around and get the secondary to move around so much, like now all of a sudden someone's really open and you can't be tackled, the explosive plays happen. And I think he lives and dies by that. And if you've got a good game plan and if you've got good secondary and you have good defense, you can beat him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And on top of that, they were just playing sloppy too. Even those were Josh Allen's
I think
words.
they're a sloppy team. I think this year they are a sloppy team.
Yeah.
Especially on defense.
Teams often don't lose 3 turnovers and still win. So it suggests that New England kind of like forced them into a wall. I also think Stephon Diggs
New England
came out
just played
with a lot
solid.
of fire,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Stephon
absolutely.
Diggs. Yeah, came out
Stephon Diggs,
playing
you
against
know,
his old team.
Stephon Diggs didn't have like a monumental game, but he played well enough to where he can get inside the head of the other team, and he knew what he was doing out there.
Hmm.
He was kind of, he was baiting himself to where he could get the other receivers open. As what an elite level receiver should do is make sure that your other guys are eating too. So
Yep.
if you know the eyes are gonna be on you, which they were, everybody was looking at everybody wanted to see Diggs and Allen go at it last night.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they're on opposite sides of the ball. But
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So like if you're the elite level and you know that the defense is going to be after you, bait them, get them to chase you. And that's exactly what he
Yep.
did. And it opened up the other receivers. So he looked great out there. Now Buffalo just needs a smaller margin for error, but their defense has so many holes. They're just lackluster out there. And on
Right.
top of that, Josh Allen didn't look that great either, which
No.
is very strange for him to say. It's a very rare bad game for Josh Allen, but it was a bad game for Josh Allen.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I agree. But even in games in the past with Josh Allen and obviously like we're eventually going to get to the Bills playing the Falcons next week on Monday Night Football. I went back and I watched the last time that the Falcons and Bills played each other, and it was 2021. It was Matt Ryan's last year, Kyle Pitts' rookie year, and we were playing in Buffalo late in the season, and it was snowing. And
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen, they won that game. It was 22-15, but Josh Allen had a horrible game.
Yeah.
Gave up a safety, multiple turnovers. I think we had at least like 4 turnovers. I want to say 3 of them were from Josh Allen and not just like a fumble. He'll give you a chance, and I think a lot of it is like he trusts in his ability and sometimes maybe a little bit too cocky about it. But he'll do that. And something that I think I told you this, or I've told many people around me, during the Falcons bye week, that I hope that the Bills win this game. They come into Mercedes-Benz next week 5-0 and a little bit cocky because I think we can get them.
Yeah.
The difference
But
now,
now, unfortunately, is that this was probably a wake-up game for them, and now
more
they're
than
going to come
likely.
in. Yeah, now they're going to come in
You might
pissed the
see
fuck
Josh Allen
off.
with a fucking vengeance. Yeah. And here's the other
Yeah,
thing is they've got a bye week after this Monday Night Football game. So
we don't.
it's very important for the Bills to not go into the bye week, which is still an early bye week. It'll be week 7. Yeah, we got the earliest one, week 5. But week 7, they're going to have a bye week, and you don't want to go in with 2 losses. They know
No.
they can't do that. So they're going to come out with a vengeance. I'm still not that afraid of them. I'm really not. I think that their defense is nothing to write home about. Josh Allen's going to have to put it all on his back. I think A.J. Terrell, the last time we played them, he got a pick on Josh Allen. If he's back, maybe it's one of those things where, he can read the guy and he gets one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that happens, I'll bring this up again next week and my voice will be gone because I'll be at that game. I'll be screaming my ass off. But yeah, we're going to have to see.
Well, also, we've been touching so much on play action and how Penix needs to focus more on play action. I don't think the Bills are a team you should be afraid of
No.
doing play action against. I think this is your opportunity to show us that you can do it,
We know, look, I have all the confidence that we're going to be able to run the ball against them. I know that. And, we've got Bijan Robinson. If we just hand him the ball against that run defense, special things are going to happen. Not to mention Tyler Algier, if you want to just run it up the middle and wear him down.
Yeah.
And
on
have a
top of
long
that,
drive.
Penix can run too. You
Yep.
got a triple threat on the run right there.
But Bills' pass defense also isn't very good. So that could open up a lot of things. Something I want to say, let's go ahead and get into, I guess, go ahead and get into the Falcons and Bills. We're already talking about it. Just found out this week, even after the bye week, the Falcons have the number 1 total defense in the league, which I had never thought I would say. But let's not, I'm going to go ahead and do a disclaimer here. Take that with a grain of salt. That has to do with yards per game given up and total yards given up over 5 games or over 5 weeks. So they're at the top of that. But that brings me to my point that I brought up the last 2 weeks. Special teams is giving up good field position. So, the defense isn't giving up a lot of yards because the drive ends in a field goal. Exactly. Because they're starting at the 45.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know how to feel about that right now.
I mean, if it puts you in the win column, I say feel great about it, Like if
Well,
it
we're
puts us in a
2-2.
situation, well, but I'm saying like from moving on, if it puts you in a situation where you can capitalize on it, then absolutely feel great about it. And on top of that, going to the offense, I think before the bye week, I don't know if this stat still stands, but I saw that Bijan has the most rushing yards from scrimmage in the NFL right now.
Oh, total yards from scrimmage. Yes, he does.
Total yards from scrimmage, you know. So we
Puka
got a great
Nacua, I
team
think, is
around us.
behind him as just a receiver. But, think about what Puka Nacua's job is. It's to catch
Yeah.
the ball downfield.
Yeah.
Bijan is getting a lot of these things
Bijan
from
starts
scrimmage.
from the line of scrimmage. Yeah,
and
starts from scrimmage.
he's in Zach Robinson's genius offense, and I'm saying that facetiously, where he starts 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And he has more yards than that guy, than a receiver that is a deep threat constantly.
So what I'm saying is, if we go back to the game, let's go back to the game where, the defense had 5 sacks. If we put the pressure on Buffalo like that, if we get inside of Josh Allen's head, if we force him to play sloppy, if we do the play action, if we do the RPOs, if we run it down their fucking throat, I personally don't see a reason why the Falcons should lose this game. I actually go into this game very confidently, especially with the way Algier and Bijan are moving the ball, with how Drake London and Penix are finally clicking, the way Pitts is playing out there. And on top of that, if they use this bye week for Mooney and Penix to get some reps in together so that they can get on the same page, I don't think we have very much to worry about going into this. And is AJ going to be out there?
So I don't, as of today, as of Tuesday, what is it? The 7th. I don't think we've heard any official word, but we'll know by Friday if he's going to play. I think he will. I mean, he had a hamstring. He's been out for 3 weeks now, 3 weeks of rest. I think they'll bring him back, especially for a game like this. And we've talked about this before, and I think we've said it on the podcast, but like this would be a great win to where you can beat the guys that, last week were, Super Bowl favorites. If you can beat them, like this is a huge victory, and it's big for the morale. And let's carry that through the rest of the season. We're coming out of the bye week. That would be huge if we did that. But what I'm going to be looking at is not just the offense and the running game, because I have full faith that they're going to do well. The offense is going to do well against the Bills defense. But our defense, I'm going to go ahead and say Xavier Watts is going to get another pick. I think he will. I'm just saying. And then also Jesse Bates. Haven't heard his name a lot throughout the year so far.
Surprisingly, haven't heard much of him, but I think he's
on Monday Night Football, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him punching one out or getting a pick himself or something like that. I'm looking to him to, reclaim his place on this defense, because right now it's like all we talk about on the defense are the young guys, man. We talk about Xavier Watts and we talk about Jalen Walker and Billy Bowman and Divine Diablo.
Year we had plenty to talk about when it came to Jesse Bates. So
yeah, I mean the last 2 years that we've had Jesse Bates, I mean he's been undeniably the best player on this defense, and I think he can still be that, and he probably still is that. But I'm waiting to see a big play from him next week.
Yeah, me too. All right, so let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of those games where the whole world watches. The Falcons, particularly, we did great on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings, but we particularly don't play great on the world stage. When it's all eyes on us, we don't have the greatest track record. But I for once am confident going into this game. I know you're going to have a good time there. Enjoy the Buffalo.
Yeah, me and Kat will be there. My voice will be gone when we do the podcast. I don't know. I might try and not scream as much and just fucking.
But I also think it's one of those games where like the Buffalo fans are so much fun that like I could see myself tailgating with those guys before the game. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just a good time. All they want to do is fucking party.
You think a lot of real like people from Buffalo are living here in Atlanta right now, or are they just people that jumped on the bandwagon the last couple of years?
A little bit of both, but dude, think of all the fucking people from up north that live in Atlanta now, especially because of the film and everything. You know?
And we're a transplant city, and we.
I can name like 20 Giants fans from New York that live in Atlanta now.
That's real New York. Buffalo is basically fucking Canada.
Okay, but it's still New York. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I'll tell you this: also, I guarantee you, when I get to the game and I go to my seats that I've sat in, since the Benz is opened, I'm going to get up there and, because I'm going to be going around getting drinks before the game, and I'm going to get to my seats during the national anthem. I'm going to get there, and there's going to be Buffalo fans sitting in my seats. I guarantee it, especially on Monday Night Football. I guarantee it. And one of my favorite things to do is tell the away team's fans that are sitting in my fucking seats, hey, these are my seats. And then they, every time, dude, without fail, every single time, they look at me and go, no, man, pretty sure these are ours. Pretty sure I've been sitting here for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I know where my seats are. If I'm that drunk before a game and I don't know where my seats are, then we're in trouble. But that's not going to happen.
I mean,
I love kicking out away fans.
If you party with the Buffalo crowd beforehand, it probably could happen.
I'll party with them on the MARTA train after we beat their ass.
You might go through a table or two as well, you know.
Well, I'm going to try and avoid that. I'm not going to have Benny with me. So.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, that wraps things up for this episode of A-Town Rundown, unless there's anything else to add.
Nah, man. That's it. Rise up.
All right. So we're gonna have a Falcons victory to talk about next week after they dominate the Bills at home. Other than
God,
that,
I hope we're not fucking eating shit next week after saying all this.
You know, things track. But other than that, when you hear this, it'll be Thursday, and Thursday night you're gonna have the 4-1 Eagles going against the 1-4 Giants. That's gonna be a great fucking game. Entertainment television right there, prime time fucking game right there. I wonder how that game's gonna turn out. If the Eagles lose this game, I've lost all hope in them. To me, if the Eagles lose this fucking game, I think
this
their
will tell
playoff
us a
hopes might
lot.
be goodbye. This will actually seal the deal on if there really is all that luck, because if they lose this game, there's no other excuse than what's going on in the locker room, because the ability's there, the play calling's there, the coaching's there, the talent's there. If you lose this game, there is some extracurricular shit going on that you need to fucking figure out.
Yep.
But other than that, it's time for us to leave. If you want to check us out on YouTube, it's A-Town Rundown. You can find us on Spotify by looking at the This, That, and the Other podcast page. And you can follow us on Instagram at A-Town Rundown. You can also check out Jeremy's band Sunmancer on social media. They're fucking great. Make sure you see them next time they play live. And other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
Rise up, baby.